Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you again. Help us to study the book of Corinthians. There's a lot of important things that we need to know, to understand. Help us in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, chapter 7. And 9. Okay, chapter 7 is a big chapter. It concerning singleness, marriage, divorce, a lot of stuff. And from the early church, they have a teaching, what you can do, what you cannot do. And there is options in the time of Moses. And people say that, oh, even Moses' time, they have a lot of options. But here we come to the Bible that what God intended and what Moses allowed is not always the same thing. And here again, in modern day Christianity, each church or each believer need to decide. You want the will of God? You want what you can do? Or you want what your church want you to do? There are so many things different. From each church, they have a different demand too. Okay, let's go and we're going to cover it as much as we can. Now in chapter 7, Paul will talk about, some people tell Paul that should we get married or should we not? Now you look at Jewish culture, all men, all women supposed to get married. Mean that sometimes their parents engage them since they're young. And sometimes parents engage them even before they're born. Because marriage is not about a boy and a girl. It's about the family. The family decide. They want connection with this family, so they already promise their son, their daughter will get married when time comes. And when time comes means that when they are allowed 12 or 13, they get married. So it's not very strange for the parent to make engagement even before their children born. So the children have no choice. When parents they get married since they're young. And now, since a lot of them now became Christian believer, and in some culture, like in the Greek in Corinthians, some of them who so devoted for God, they won't get married. So the idea of someone who celebrate mean that don't get married is have been long time, even before they became Christian. The Greek, some of the priests or priestess never get married. But Paul said that God make man or woman to get married, to multiply, to have sexual relationship. So for most people, Paul said that you should get married. Paul will sum up only if you have the gift of singleness. So Paul said that to be single is not a choice, it's a gift. If you don't have that gift, you will struggling and you will suffer. So what that mean? How many people have that gift? Scientifically, they say that up to 10% of people in this world have the gift of singleness. What that mean? Scientifically, they mean that up to 10% of people don't have sexual desire at all. Unbelievable, but that's true. 10% of human beings don't have sexual desire at all. But in that 10%, most of them are women. In that 10%, maybe just 1 or 2% of them are men. So it means that 100 people, Men 98 should get married. 98%. For women, 90% should get married because 90% of women don't have gift of singleness. Only 10% maybe get the gift of singleness. And 98% of men don't have gift of singleness. Maybe 1 or 2% of men have the gift of singleness, mean that no sexual desire at all. And later on, Paul will mention that he is one of that 1% that don't have sexual desire at all, so he can be single. But the question go on that Paul ever get married before? Possible. Why? As I say, marriage as in Jewish culture is not the man's decision, it's the family decision. And the family decides since they're young. Marry them with someone they don't know at all. And that's their culture. Well, they guess that before Paul became a Christian, he might get married before. But later on, either divorce or separate or whatever. Now he became Christian without wife and become single. Well, we don't know. It's just guessing, but possibility. Because why Paul wrote this letter, he a single man. He don't have family. So this is different from other apostles or the rest of apostles. Get married, have children, have family, all of them. So celibacy, Paul always mentioned that this is a gift. It's not a choice. It's not because you want to be single, but because God selected you. God gave a gift for you. So you can live very happily without getting married. But if you don't have that gift, you go to struggling and commit sin. So this is what Paul said. And now about marriage. Paul said that wife and husband have responsibility to one another, mean that sex is part of marriage. When you get married, you cannot say that I don't want sex, I don't want to have relationship. Paul said no, this is part of marriage life. Sexual relationship is part of it. Wife cannot say no, husband cannot say no. They need to agree. And Paul said that that is normal. Unless you agree to spend time with God for a short time, you can separate from one another for a short time. If not, you need to live together as wife husband. And about relationship, Paul said that wife need to be submissive to husband, mean that God make a family as a team. Husband make decision most of the time, and wife need to support and follow. So God put husband as the leader and wife as a supporter. In the same time, Paul said, why husband need to love his wife as he loves himself. And that's a command. Why need to respect husband, obey her husband. And that's his relationship that they're supposed to have. And then this is the command between wife and husband, relationship and responsibility. Not deprive one another mean that don't stop sexual relationship because you don't want it. But this is part of marriage. Relationship have to be go on. Do not deprive sexual deprivation of marriage have only to do with frequency. It means that Paul said that part of marriage is that, and wife and husband need to fulfill each person desire or need in their relationship. And in some occasion, you can have a time for God and separate from one another for a short time, Paul said that. And here in verse 7 to 9, Paul says, I wish all men have the gift that I have, but not everyone have it. Very few have it. So that it's different from one person to another person. And in many Jewish or writing or culture, the culture expect that man and woman, all of them get married because they believe in God's command for us to multiply and have more children. So this is what culture always demand that. Now to the marriage command, not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to depart from her husband. Now Paul will go to another topic about divorce. Or separate. Now the words divorce and separate are not the same thing. You see that Paul will say that divorce is not acceptable in most cases. Paul will mention here a few cases that divorce is allowed. But most of the time, Paul will use the word separation. Separation doesn't mean divorce. Separation, Paul will have a short term and long term. So it means that they still marry, but they separate from one another for a purpose, for a goal, for a certain time. And this is most of the time Paul will say that as a wife and husband. And this is, people ask that why can depart from her husband? And now talk about divorce. If you go back to what Jesus said when the Pharisee asked Jesus that can a man divorce his wife? Because Moses allowed that. Jesus said that Moses allowed because they wanted. But from the beginning, God's intention is for man and woman to live together forever. So what that mean? It means that for God's intention, no divorce. But man want it anyway. And Jesus will command that only one condition that man and woman can divorce according to God's plan is adultery. If one side commit adultery, another side have the freedom to divorce. So that is the only reason according to what Jesus said. And now, at Paul say, if he quotes what Jesus say and the Bible demand that not divorce. And now, another situation in Corinth that Paul need to deal with. From verse 12 on, people ask Paul that a lot of women in Corinth became believer, but but their husband are not believer. Now what can they do? Because husband will forbid her to come to church, and the children cannot come to church. Should they divorce their husband? Paul will say that no. If the unbeliever don't want to divorce, they should still live together, and God will save them. The children can be clean. If not, what that means to be clean? Mean that the unity of the family is still important. Paul don't want a believer to divorce a spouse that are not believer. If they want to be together, Paul said, fine, good. Who knows, one day the spouse can be a believer too. But if the unbeliever side want to divorce, here, Paul said that you can divorce. Paul said that you don't need to live in that situation. So now you see that in this situation, Paul allow Christian to divorce non-believer if the non-believer want to divorce first. Christian cannot initiate divorce, but the non-believer can start the process, and Paul allowed that. So now this is the second approval of divorce. The first one, adultery. The second one, the unbeliever want to divorce. So this is clearly in the Bible, the two situations. But at the end, Paul said that, not the Lord say, but I. Why to say that this is not exactly God's intention, but Paul allowed it, as Moses allowed the divorce in the situation in Old Testament because of necessity or anything, but it's not God's intention, the same thing. And here Paul said that somebody said that if you believer live with non-believer, how your children come out? Paul used the verse, God sanctified them through the believer. So this means a lot to Christians in that situation, because when their children are young, and a lot of children die young in those days, about more than half of children who born never live up to 1 year old. So they always worry that if my husband is not a believer, can my children be saved? Well, Paul will mention here in this teaching that yes, when the children are still young, they can be sanctified, mean that made clean by the believer. Even one side not believer, but if the wife is a believer, God also sanctify the baby until the baby old enough to know and decide for themselves. And this is the belief from the early church that the baby of Christian always saved until they grow up enough to decide for themselves. So this is the teaching from the early church in Paul time. Otherwise, the children would be unclean. This is the teaching that one side is a believer, all the children can be clean and sanctified through the believer, so they can be saved from sin too. And here Paul will mention clearly, if one side, a non-believer want to depart, mean that divorce and separate, go ahead, Paul allow it. But for the Christian, you cannot start the process. If the unbeliever husband or wife want to be with you, you have to keep the relationship go on. Okay, this is about divorce, not divorce, to be single and remarry. And Paul will mention in this chapter again that I want all the young widow to remarry. You know that in those days, a lot of people marry young, and their husband go to war and die. And a lot of widows are young widows, very young, with kid or no kid. So Paul always want them to remarry, to start a new life. Even some culture might not want them to remarry, but Paul said that you can start your life again. Remarry with another believer. But again, Paul said that if you don't have desire, you don't have need, you don't need to be married, because later on he will explain why. And here he jumped to another topic about circumcision. Paul said that circumcision or not circumcision is not important. If you already have it, okay with it, happy with it. If you don't have it, don't try to have it, because it doesn't about salvation or about new life at all. It just becomes just tradition and Jewish culture now. So Paul said, don't pay much attention on it. It doesn't matter anymore. And Paul mentioned about slave and free man. In Paul time, a lot of people are slaves. In Jewish culture, the poor people can sell themselves to be slaves. But the Jewish slave will be slave for 6 years only. After 6 years, they go free. But non-Jew can be slave forever because it's not covered under the law of Moses. So the Jew can be slave for 6 years under another Jew. No more, no less. It doesn't matter how much debt you have. You can be slave just for 6 years to the Jewish people. I mean, if your master are Jew too. But if your master are not Jew, you have big problem. Okay, about that. And then the chapters will cover So Paul said that whatever position you are when God call you, be happy with that. If you can change that, change it. If you can be better, do it. So it means that Paul said that don't worry too much about whatever you are and whatever God put you. Just do your part the best you can and be happy with your life. So don't let anyone tell you what to do, because we are different and God have different plan for each one of us. And 25 to 28, now talk about the virgin. So a lot of young ladies still not marry. And a lot of people say that should they be virgin until the day they die? Paul said that, well, it depends. We are different. If you already vow to marry someone, go ahead and marry. Don't try to be virgin your whole life, because it's not God's intention. Well, later on, the Catholic Church will demand that anyone who wants to serve God need to be virgin, women and men. And that is beyond what Paul teach and beyond what the Bible commands. Paul said that it's not necessary unless God gives you a gift. If not, go ahead and marry. If you do marry, you have not sinned. Paul certainly said that. Marriage is okay unless you have a vow to God or you intend that you have a certain gift to be single, and that is good. But at the end, Paul will mention that time is short, because he sum up that he lived a single life because he know that he don't have much time, and he want to spend all the time he have to serve God, to save people. If he have family, he don't have time because he have to work to take care of his family. So this is why he decided to be single and don't have family. So he have all the time for God. And he will mention here too, well, the one who marry will worry about family, but the one who are single will worry about the work for God. Well, depends on person. So this is Paul will sum up this chapter. Get married or be single is all good according to what God called you to do. And he sum up in the chapter that a wife is bound by law as long as her husband live. And Paul very straightforward here that a woman who marry is married unto the lifetime. And Paul very strict on that. Why? Because Paul talk about God's intention. God's intention for us to marry the whole life, not to divorce or separate. But God allows divorce because of adultery. And now Paul allowed divorce because the non-believer want to divorce. Okay. And Moses allowed divorce for all reasons. If the man not happy with his wife, Moses allowed to divorce. But that is not God's intention. And what Paul said that he did not get command from God, but his suggestion that we don't need to be suffer in our marriage. Paul used the words that we don't need to be in that situation. So a lot of people, a lot of churches use that teaching to allow divorce in many situations by saying that Paul said that if you're not happy, you don't need to be in that situation. Get out of it. Okay, that the way different churches explain what Paul teach about singleness, marriage, divorce, and all the position that we have in our life. Okay, I will stop here and come back to you for your reflection and your question.
Ajahn,
Yes.
I have question about one parent Christian and the other not Christian, and the kids are sanctified through one Christian parent. And how is the child or the children is covered until what age for our modern day?
That another big question. For the Jewish culture, 12.
Okay.
And for modern day, you might say some cultures say 15, 16, 18, or 20.
Okay, 15, 16. Okay, thank you. I have a lot of questions, Ajahn.
Okay.
One is like, we know that Catholic fathers they're not supposed to get married, but before they engage, well, they should know that they cannot marry. But a lot of people they go in after a while they change their mind, or they just so corrupted. They just like being father on one side, but behind the door they have a lot of children. So why do they do that?
Well, they want both. They want to have a job with the church and they also want their own family. So they have to do both. And believe me, throughout history, the Catholic priests and nuns have sex regularly. It's just with whom. So you get what I try to say? There are a lot of history record that priests have sex with the boy that we have today or with one another because a lot of priests are gay. The priests have sex with nuns. Well, some of them can keep themselves clean or holy, but most of them will find a way to have sex.
And one more question, Chad.
Yeah.
About the slavery, are they different back then compared to our modern slavery?
Oh, yes, in many ways. And I say that the deal with slavery is so different from the rest of the world. The poor people can pay their debt by being slave for 6 years. Or if you buy a Jewish guy to be your slave, it lasts 6 years too. But other people can be slave forever. But you still can redeem yourself by pay off the price that they buy you or your debt. Like in the Roman culture, if a slave go to war for the Roman and survive, he can be free man and become Roman citizen. And all debt are gone. And that's the way in Roman culture that you can get off your debt and slavery by go to war for the Roman.
But is it does it can we compare that to in our modern day as an employee or just like it's I mean how can I say that human wise is it compared is the compatible to our modern slavery?
Yeah, today the fact is there's still slavery everywhere in the world. The people who work underpay under the law, a lot of them almost you can call them slave. And especially the illegal who take into the country underground, they have no right, they have no say. They just have to serve their boss to pay off their debt. If not, they become slave forever. And the kidnapping, they kidnap the kid or people to be slave or to sell them at prostitute. It still happens all over the world.
So back then slavery and now just almost the same, huh, Ajahn? Almost the same.
Well, in the past it open, but today it's underground.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Wow, good, so smart, no question. I can continue now.
I have a question. You were
Okay.
saying the part, was it Boza something? I can't remember. You say that if you are married and if you don't like it or you're not happy, you could divorce. So if people were to read that in modern world, they're like, oh, I'm married, I'm not happy. They could like divorce easily, right?
Yes, that most of the time it go that way. But as I said, Jesus said it's not God's intention.
Mm-hmm.
But only for the men, right, John? Only the men's side, right?
Yes, in most of the time,
Mm.
even in Jesus' time, only men have that
Right.
authority.
Mm.
Most women have no authority to do that.
Not fair, huh? Man can do it, but not the female. Just kidding.
Ajahn,
Not fair, you're right.
Ajahn.
Yes.
So Moses give those people permission to divorce the wife because he's scared of the people, or why he do that and knowing that it's not God's plan.
Well, a lot of Jewish theologians say that the main reason that Moses allowed the man to divorce his wife because some wife don't have children, don't have son, and all the guy want a lot of son, a lot of children. So this is why they divorce, so they can have another wife who can make them a lot of children. That's the main reason.
Yeah, but at that time, either you marry that one, you go to, or you divorce that one you marry to another one, you have a lot of wives. It's the same thing.
Yep, in those times they allow it, as I say, culturally, and they want a lot of children.
Thank
No
you.
child support back then. That is why, Ajahn.
Free labor.
Yeah, no
That's
child
free
support.
labor. The son worked for the father until he died without pay. The children just a slave in those days. In those days, just one son will become a heir and get everything. The rest of the son will get nothing. Okay, any question? Okay, I will go to another chapter now. Chapter 8. Now talking about food that offer to idol. You know that in Corinth and in all the Greek city, there are idol everywhere. And the Greek worship all kind of idol. And before they eat, it's just like the Thai-Lao. They will take the food to offer to idol first, and then they eat. And worse, the merchant will take the food that before they cook or after they cook and offer to idol too before they sell it in the market. So why they do that? Well, they believe that all the idols are supposed to get the first taste. And another thing, people donate their food, their meat to the temple. And the priests have so much, so they take it out and sell in the market because they're too much for them to eat. And they don't want to waste, and they want to make some money. So they take all the meat that people donate to the temple back to the market to sell it again. So this is the problem that all believers, all Christians in that Greek city have to face. Can they eat? Can they buy? Because they know that most of them already offer to idol. And Paul will come with a teaching that if you don't know, don't ask, just eat. Thank God and eat. But if someone tell you it's offered to idol, it's in the temple, don't eat. Not because you don't have freedom, but because for the sake of the people who tell you or warn you, they mean good to you. So you just honor them by respect them that they warn you. Don't eat those meat. But if nobody say anything and you don't ask any question, thank God and eat. That is simple, and because if not, you cannot live in those cities. Everything offered to idol. So Paul come to the conclusion that don't act, don't tell, and thank God for everything and eat. And Paul say that idol is nothing, yes, in one sense, but still a believer should not eat those food that offer to idol if you know. because it against your conscience or some other people, other believer. So it better don't eat if you know. So the chapter will deal with food offered to idol or the thing that come from the temple of Satan. And here, Paul will talk about many God, many Lord. Paul doesn't mean that they are God, but those people believe that those are God, or the idol they worship. It's just spirit, angel spirit with power, and they call them God, but they are not real God. There's only one real God, the Father, the one who created the universe and everything. That only one real God. So Paul tried to deal with people in the chapter is you have freedom to do everything, but not everything is good to do. So what that mean? Or everything is okay to eat, but it's not good to eat everything. So what that mean? It just means that Christians have freedom to eat everything after you pray, you thank God. But if your freedom go to hurt other believer, believe, faith, you better sacrifice your freedom for the sake of other believer. This is what Paul tried to say in this chapter. Don't enjoy your freedom and hurt other people, because that is not good. So Paul said that I sacrifice my freedom to save other people, especially the young believer, new believer. Paul said, I don't eat meat, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, not because I cannot, but for the sake of young believer, new believer. I don't want them to get hurt. I want them to know that God loved them and we all love them, want to help them too. And this whole chapter is about idol, food offered to them, and relationship. About eating and use your freedom the right way to honor God and not to hurt other people. And here Paul will talk a lot of liberty, your freedom. But don't use your freedom to stumble other believers. If you cause them to stumble by using your freedom, it's not okay. It's wrong. That the whole chapter is about. And especially if you say that you are leader, you are someone who know God so long, but you still use your freedom to hurt other believers. That is big mistake. That is wrong. Okay, this is sum up chapter 8 real short. How you think about chapter 8? You have any comment of question about chapter 8?
I have one, Ajahn.
Yes, Nathan.
It's about the, I think it is let's put this way. Then we have two pastors. One that is so liberal, then he has a lot of memberships. And the other one, he's so conservative, he can attract only those few old people. So one has a big member and one just have only few. And when those two pastors die, they go to heaven. Which one that please God the most, Ajahn?
I think you have to ask God. If you were God, which one you like?
I don't know, Ajahn. Because the conservative one, oh, you cannot do this, cannot do that. So only the good ones that they will come and believe in God. And those really liberal one, just come in, the door is open. You can do whatever you want. Like, for example, there's one pastor, I heard that he go to people's house knowing that the food were offered to idols. He just eat. The people say, you know that the food was offered to idol. He said, it's okay, my God is bigger than those the little gods. So he doesn't care.
Well,
That's good story.
if he doesn't hurt other believer, I think it's okay. But if the one who want him get hurt, now have big problem. Because Paul clearly said in chapter 8 that if someone want you, you better don't eat. Why?
You don't want to make other stumble.
Yes, you're right. Don't use your freedom to stumble other believer. So that Paul calls sacrifice.
Thank you อาจารย์
You're welcome. Wow, all of you are very smart student. Know everything. It took me 40 something, 50 years to learn.
อาจารย์ that's why I'm keep joining you because I sometimes I talk to farms say I hope อาจารย์ will not kick me out because I'm too dumb. Ask questions.
No, I love student with question because it means their interest. They pay attention and help me that if not, I have to talk to myself by myself all day. Well, thank God that you enjoy learning. That's a good thing.
Yeah, อาจารย์ I enjoy a lot. I enjoy a lot. I learn a lot. The only thing I cannot teach. I don't have intelligence to teach people.
Well,
talk about the voice. So, for example, right now, Christian here today, if the deportation didn't even have no chance to deploy, and then what other country can they still marry?
Này niệm kỳ nhau phải là
Yes,
đèn con được nè.
Yes, I mean, for example, husband in this country or wife in this country, but necessary for them to separate one other country. Can they still marry other one?
You know, you want the answer that what God intention or what man think necessary. You see that what Moses and Paul allow a certain situation is necessity. But God's intention is clear. No divorce.
Yeah, because the Bible doesn't say that the deportation. Only today, it said deportation. That means nobody want to break nobody's heart, but that's necessary for they still have new relationship something.
Let me tell you the real story. When communist took over China, a lot of Chinese pastors run away to Thailand. They cannot take their family or their wife with them. Now they went to Thailand, and a young preacher, what they can do? They cannot take their wife. The communists don't allow it. They cannot get a kid. After a few years, they remarry. New wife in Thailand. All the conservative church kicked them out. They have no church to pastor. They have to find other job.
Yeah, that's my clear answer, my clear question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's sad.
It
The
is
why
very
will cannot come out. The communists won't allow it. And said they are young pastor. If you were them, what should you do?
If I were those church pastors, I will use my human thinking. We are human beings. We try to do our best, but sometimes our best doesn't help our doesn't reach what we wish.
Yeah. We all have to decide that this is the will of God or what we can do. But anyway, it's not about salvation though. We are saved by grace alone. And this is just some issue in life that we are not perfect. Believe me, more than 50% of people in America are divorced. And the pastor in America, about half divorced and remarried too. This is the fact. They just don't tell you.
I heard some American pastor they divorced too.
Yeah, you can guess every two of them, one of them divorced or remarry.
And some American pastor they still alcoholic still.
You ever heard a pastor fell down from the pulpit because they're so drunk? Well, they say we saved by grace alone, not by work. Okay, I will jump to chapter 9 now. Okay, did you see chapter 9?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Now, chapter 9, Paul will go to address about accusation again. A lot of people say, Paul, you are not apostle. You are not one of the 12. And why Paul concerned about this so much? If in many situations, Paul doesn't care when people say anything about him. But now why he care? Well, it's important. Why? Because the church will accept the teaching from the 12 apostles only. If you are not the 12, you are nothing. Whatever you teach, they won't accept it because they believe the 12 get teaching directly from Jesus, appointed by Jesus only. So this would mean that in the future, all the New Testament will come from the apostle only. If Paul are not one of them, all his writing, teaching will be thrown away and mean nothing. So this is why he have to defend himself that I am one of the apostles. Jesus called me, and not by men, but by Jesus himself. And later on, Paul will tell that after Jesus called me on the road to Damascus, I lost my eyesight. And in the book of Galatians, Paul will say that after that conversion, he went to the desert of Arabia for 3 full years to learn from the Holy Spirit about all the teaching. So Paul tried to prove that I have all the training, I have the calling, and I'm one of the 12. to replace Judas. And Paul said that if you don't believe all the story that I told you, believe my work. Jesus said the same thing to the Pharisee. If you don't believe that I come from God, I am God, look at the work that I have done. The blind can see, the lame can walk, and the dead have a new come back to life. This is the power of God. So Paul will use the same argument that if you don't believe my experience, my calling from Jesus, my training in the desert with the Holy Spirit, look at my teaching. It's not from man. All this teaching, all this knowledge come from God. And only God himself can tell all this detail. Now Paul will come specifically to all the Christians that he teach in Corinth, in Galatia, in Philippi, in many places. You are my student. I bring you to salvation. If I am not apostle to other people, at least I am your apostle to you because I am your teacher. I bring you to salvation. I train you from the day one until now. Why you obey, why you believe in other people who say that I am not qualified? Why you believe in them? Well, that make all these people think you prove the people not just by what they say, but by their work. Like Jesus said that you know the tree is good and bad by look at their fruit. Good tree will bring only good fruit. Bad tree will bear bad fruit. So now you look at me. You can compare me to other apostles. What kind of fruit you get from me? And now Paul talk about people say that, well, you are not apostle. We're not supporting you. But we give money to Peter, to John, to James, to Matthew, or other apostle or the team. The church say that we support apostle. But Paul, who are you? We don't support you. We don't give you money. And your team by yourself. Paul said that I am called by God. I am serving God, not myself. And this is might be one of the reasons that Paul worked his whole life. And all his students work with him. At daytime they work. Paul is a tent maker. And at night he teach. So he don't get money from most of the churches. He don't get support from a lot of people. He support himself. Today we call a lot of missionary at tent maker, mean that they have another job to support themselves and they serve God too. This model come from Paul and his team, tent maker. Now you get the idea. Paul doesn't care what people say. He keeps serving God the best he can. And Paul will always say, this is the story. Anyone who go to war and still have his own expenses. You go to war, the country, the army feed you, support you. Nobody go to war and still have to pay for all the expenses. Paul tried to compare that he's serving God, and the Bible promised that you don't need to worry about yourself or your family. God will take care of you. Through the church, throughout all the believers, God will provide. So this is the promise. And Paul even used the illustration. The law of Moses said that when you take a cow to work in the field or to work in the yard, you don't put the muzzle in the mouth. The cow want to eat anything, they have the freedom to eat. Because you put them to work, they have the right to eat what they work for. Even a cow, a donkey. But I know that in some culture, you take the cow, the donkey to work, but you put the muzzle in their mouth so they cannot eat. and that is wrong. The law of God says that when you use the animal to work for you, let they eat whatever they want. That is fair. So we get today that a lot of companies will allow the worker to eat the food they sell, they cook, they make, because that is fair. But some companies so stingy. They feed their worker first with some cheap food and then send them to work and don't allow them to eat what they try to sell. But here you see that in Deuteronomy chapter 25:4, God said that you shall not muzzle an ox while it tread out the grain. All the grain is expensive, yes, but you use the cow to work. Let him eat. Let it eat. And Paul said that God just concerned about oxen or animal. God concerned about everyone, even animal. But people is more important. Why you use people and without paying them? That is wrong. So Paul said that I have the right to get paid. I have the right to get support by the church because I serving God. You see, at the priest doesn't do any other job. They serve God. And God give them all the tithes of the Israelite to the priest, to the Levi, for what they serve God. And God command that those who preach the gospel should live by the gospel, mean that by all the believer, all the support from the church that they build, they preach, they teach. But Paul said that I rarely use this right. Paul said I have the right to get support. I have the right to get paid, but I rarely use it. Why? Because he don't want to be a burden to the church. Because he worked with a lot of new believers, new churches, and a lot of them not rich. And he doesn't care. He works to support himself and his team. And God always provide more than enough. But he wants to lay a foundation to teach all the believers, all the churches that you cannot treat other people like you treat me, but you need to treat them the right way. So this is his responsibility to teach the church. You need to take care of God's servant. You need to feed them. You cannot ignore them and let them work for free for you. But for Paul's situation, Paul said that I better for me to die than anyone should make my boasting void. What that means? Paul joking that I want to boast about myself. I don't need your help. Well, and it's true, Paul don't need a lot of support from anyone. He pride himself that he worked at a tent maker to support himself and his team for so many years. I present the gospel of Christ without charge. I can say that it's free. I don't charge anyone or anything. I give it freely because God gave me the salvation freely too. I am free from all men. To the Jew, I become a Jew, that I might win the Jew. And this is the motto that all of us need to learn. In order to bring the Jew to salvation, you need to go into Jewish culture and live with them and be their friend so you can win them for Jesus. You cannot go in and pretend to be someone else and don't live like them, so you cannot be part of them. And this is why a lot of missionaries fail. They went all over the world but lived in American way, to be American among the native. So they fail because they cannot blend in. They cannot learn the culture. They don't know the language, and they don't eat their food. There's a stranger. That's why they always say that Christianity is the stranger religion or Western religion, because all the white missionaries failed to live amongst the native, to be one of them. But Paul said that I have to be Jew to win the Jew. I have to be a Greek in order to bring the Greek to salvation. And this is the heart of this chapter. Servant of God, God take care, don't worry. You have the right to get pay and get support, but you need to be part of the people that you go out to reach. Be a Greek to save the Greek. Be the Jew to save the Jew. Be like a Roman to save the Roman. And this is the heart of this chapter. Okay, now let us entertain the question that why a lot of missionaries fail. I asked one American missionary in Thailand, how often you eat som tam or rice, curry over rice? He tried to think. He said, last time I eat maybe Christmas somewhere. It means that he doesn't eat Thai food all the time. It's just some special occasion at Christmas time at church or something. I say, I know that you're going to fail because they don't live with the Thai as a Thai. They still live with hamburger, Burger King, Pizza Hut every day. To be a missionary to a certain people, you need to live with them, eat with them, be one of them. Do you think so?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Because
Yes.
they have to adapt to the environment and the culture and food.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have that gift, John, because I didn't grow up back then. So I grew up here. So I would, if I were to go back there, I would have to adapt to the living situation. Even the restroom is not like here, so everything is different. So that
Yeah, we need to
be-
learn.
Mhm.
We need to
That'll be-
prepare.
Yeah, challenging.
Mm.
Mhm.
Ajahn, I have a question
Yes.
about Paul. I mean, to me, I think that he works harder than the 12 apostles. Right?
You're
Don't you
right.
think?
You're right.
Yeah,
You know that 1/3 of the New Testament written by Paul.
correct. Yes. Mhm.
Because he doesn't have support from the church because
Mm.
they said that he wasn't from the 12 apostles, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to make a tent for his living.
Yeah.
Mm.
But Ajahn, I have a question in regards to the apostle. Apostle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that apostle is when they have encounter with Jesus, you know, relationship at that time. Is that one of the reason they call him apostle?
In Greek, apostle just means the one who was sent out.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't mean anything special, but they use the word 12.
Mm, okay.
They're 12.
They didn't send out, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ajahn,
Yes.
do we have can we find anywhere that where Paul went to study with Jesus for 3 years? Is there anywhere it's written or somewhere?
The book of Galatians. You
Galatians.
can search that, Galatians.
Okay, Galatians. Okay.
Kong Sai can search it, maybe Galatians chapter 2 or 3. Or in the desert of Arabian desert.
I got it อาจารย์
Yeah.
I mean, Galatians chapter 1, verse 11 and then 12.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So that the proof, Paul said that.
Chapter 2, what verse?
1, chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. 11
Okay.
and 12.
So are any one of you ready to be missionary?
Maybe in about,
10 years.
I would say about 4 years.
Hmm.
If we, retire. Yeah, I would say about 4 years.
Hmm.
Yes, if it's, God's will, God's plan, yes.
Good.
Then you have to eat. You can't eat hamburger or hot dog over there.
No hot dog, no hamburger.
Yeah, it's okay.
Vâng
We-
yeah,
Hi.
con gái nhà plan mấy chưa thầu retire mình sẽ tại sao á?
Trên là trên tôi có là
yeah, it's God's timing.
One of my member family moved back to Thailand.
Oh.
I asked her how your American husband survived in Thailand. She said that no problem. Morning, you meet my husband at McDonald's. Afternoon, you meet my husband at Pizza Hut. Evening, you meet my husband at Sizzler.
Ooh, wow. Eating good over there then.
Yep. He have no problem living in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least financial wise it is not gonna be long then.
Daddy, mommy don't want.
Hmm.
Retire in 7 years, Jan.
Are you?
Yeah. So I'm 56 right now.
Oh.
I have 7 more years to be retired.
Oh, you expect 62?
Yeah. try
What
to swire in 62.
Wow. Now you just 56?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep working.
I need more knowledge of God.
Yeah.
I still lack the God's wisdom. So
what you do after you retire?
plan to be a English teacher
Oh, in Laos?
in Laos or Thailand.
Okay.
Missionary doesn't always have to be out of the country, right, Ajahn? It can be in.
Right. You
the
can be
United
missionary anywhere.
Right.
It's just your heart want to serve God and to reach out to new people that are the missionary.
Yes. In order to do missionary, I believe that the foundation is your own church has to be stable, have good foundation, and then you can go overseas. Or
Well, I can mission my family.
to
Yeah, start with your family.
How about anybody would like interest go to like jungle of Philippines?
no.
Ajahn, I we learned that you know West Petro family, right?
Yeah.
David, the second youngest son, went to Philippines and lived among the tribal people. Don't know the language, learn from start, and then
They're still there?
He's still. I think he come back to the United States now for his kid to go to college, and they all graduate from college and all that stuff.
Oh.
So he went in there, talk about how to live with the people and be like the people of the village. What they eat, you eat with them. What the lifestyle, you learn all that stuff. Even chewing limestone, you know, and and all those tobacco limestone together. And he came and he saw my dad has those limestone for the kill marks, and he take his finger, you know, dip into that and put in his mouth. I said, if you put poo, all the stuff wrapped in that's okay, but this one he do it like plain, but he can do it, you know. And I said, for us, it burn our mouth, right? For them, they get used to and it's okay. They eat snack, they eat all insect, whatever they can find, you know. Live with the people, and we have the Thai lady who will come and work in our group in 1990 or 1990 something. This Thai lady very you know, is a wife of a general, you know, and she's very clean, high class. She don't want to come and, you know, but she wanted to come to join our church and try to help, but she cannot, you know, tolerate the food, the way we eat and the way she eat. And you know, the lady have to tell us, if you want to be working with the people, you need to, you know, learn how to accept them and learn how to eat like them. And also, it's not just help getting to know them, but also help your body to, you know, like because you're too clean. When you're too clean, you be with you know, people that eating unclean padak and all the stuff. You know, you know, you build up your immune system by those, so that way you, when the disease come, and you can tolerate it. You know. So she did that, and you know, her friend tried to make her. You want to work with the Lao people, you gotta be like them, eat like them, you know. So it's good. Have you heard from that lady, Ajahn? How's she doing right now?
Well, I think she lives in San Jose now.
Yeah, San Jose, yes. She's still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive.
Good. Yeah. So she's been working with our people and then she go to Bible study and also, and it, you know, she blend in somehow. And talk about how, you know, whatever opportunity God gives you, you know, to minister, no matter what doors open, and you gotta do it. Even do like Zoom ministry, you know, you can serve God like that, and you know.
So did she end up eating like the other people?
Oh yeah, she learned
adapted
this time she cannot tolerate it.
Yeah.
And then she get later on she get used to, yeah, and then now she get, you know, and working with the people, and you know, and get to know all the people who are in low class. Yeah.
Anybody have idea where is Da today and Kamsai?
Darwin went camping.
Oh, okay.
He had I think hunting season. Yeah.
Okay.
Score hunting first peak of score hunting, and he went.
Okay.
And his wife's birthday too, and then want to take his wife out.
Okay. Kamsai is not here tonight too. Okay, any more comment before I go to another chapter? Chapter 10. Now, Paul used the illustration of the Jews who went through the Red Sea and lived in the desert for 40 years with manna from God. And Paul used that illustration to be a Christian need to go through certain situation too. So Paul said that we need to change. And you see, like the Israelites gave up everything in Egypt in order to go through the desert, go to the Red Sea, and start a new life. And Paul tried to tell all the believer or the Christian that in order to have experience with God, we have to go through all that process to give up all life, give up all things, and start a new life. We need to go through that process of sacrifice everything in the past, what we have, in order to get a new thing that better. By use the illustration of the Israelites, 3 million of them left Egypt and just get what they can get. Went through the Red Sea, live in the wilderness, and Paul used that the sea baptized them. And they eat the manna, Paul calls spiritual food, drink the spiritual drink, because all this food is not natural. God sent them food and drink so they can survive in the desert for 40 years. And now Paul talk about new believer or Christian modern day. We need to pass through that same experience to have a new life too. But Paul reminds us a lot of the Jewish ancestors complained too much while they walk in the desert, and God don't allow them to go to the promised land. All of them die in the desert, but their children will go to the promised land. Now, what we learn from that? Well, Paul said that a lot of new Christian believers complain too much too about everything and don't trust God. And you know that in that 40 years, the Jewish people have a lot of bad experience. They met the native people, the Canaanite, and followed them, do all the bad things that they did, that God want them not going to do. I go to destroy all of them. But the Jewish ancestors did all the bad things because they have too much time in the desert for 40 years. So they try all the bad things and hook up with all the bad people. And God teach them, God punish them. They commit sin, they commit sexual immorality. And Paul said that 23,000 of them die in one day. Well, at the end, after 40 years, 3 million of them die. That's a lot of people. But God don't kill all of them in the same time. God give them 40 years. So they live out their life. The oldest one, when they come out over 20, they die at around 60-something years old. But the youngest might die at around 40 or something. So, but I think God is fair. God said that anyone over 20 when they left Egypt will die in the wilderness in 40 years. So I think they have a chance to live 40 years until 60. Some of them might to up to 70. But all of them die in the wilderness. None of them get into the promised land because they fell. They did not obey God. They complain. Even they see all the power of God. So this chapter is to remind believer of today. We learn the example. When we accept Jesus, we need to obey him and stop complaining about everything. We have all the grace of God. We need to build his body, the church, with one mind. And don't bring all the bad example into church, into the body of Christ. because that's all the temptation. And here in the chapter, Paul talk about temptation. The Israelites went through all the temptation and fell. But here Paul said that God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. What that mean? Mean that if you trust God, God will never allow the temptation beyond your ability to stand. So it means that you can stand all the temptation if you rely on God. You will not fail. But if you don't rely on God, you think that you can do anything, you will fail. And the Israelites all fail because they don't trust God. They trust themselves. And Satan knows how to manipulate them and bring them to destruction. And another promise, with the temptation will also make the way of escape. This is God's promise. When temptation comes, God will find a way for you to get out. If you trust God until the end. Don't trust yourself, don't trust anyone. God will find a way to escape for you, a special door for you to get out of that situation. Not by yourself, but God will make a way for you. And now on verse 14, Paul reminds again, idolatry, idol. And Paul doesn't mean just a statue, but anything we love more than God is our idol. You see that the Bible says, love God with all your heart, your mind, your strength, nothing else. But if we love something else more than God, it becomes our idol, and that is sin. And now Paul talk about the Lord's Supper. He reminds the people that this is serious thing, not just something that you can pray with. The communion is the body of Christ, the blood of Christ that died on the cross for our sin. It represents a lot. And all the believers in Paul's time, some of them don't take it seriously. Some of them get drunk because they use the real wine and they drink a lot. And Paul said, this is not appropriate. This is not the right thing. You cannot get drunk in the Lord's Supper, but a lot of them get drunk and make a blessing become a curse. And Paul remind them that some of you get sick, some of you die because of what you did not honor God. So Paul remind all the believers that when you come to the Lord's Supper, you partake in his death, his sacrifice. It's not just something that you do as a symbol, it's a real thing. Some churches even believe that after the priest pray, it becomes Jesus' flesh and blood. But we all evangelical don't believe that way. We just believe that it spiritually take part in his death and his sacrifice on the cross. Now talk about again about the freedom of eating food that offered to idol. And Paul just want to emphasize in this chapter about freedom. We know, we have knowledge that idol cannot do anything to us, but we don't use that knowledge and freedom to abuse other people who trust us, and don't use it to be a stumbling block to other believers, especially young new believers. And Paul emphasized here in this verse 23, 24, all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things edify. Let no one seek his own, but each one the other well-being. Here, Paul sum up. we sacrifice our freedom for other people, to help other people to grow, to stand firm. You don't use your freedom to make people suffer or make people stumbling in their faith, especially young new believers. Paul said we're supposed to sacrifice our freedom to help other people. And this is the whole heart of the end of the chapter. And here come to the food that sell in the market again. Because as I say that all the Greek city are all filled up with idol, and all the food sacrificed to idol. The merchant cook and then offer to idol before they sell. All the priests in the temple have so many food, meat that people sacrifice to the idol, and the priest, the monk, bring them out to sell again in the market. It happened all the time, and Paul said that, well, as we say in the last chapter, if you don't know, eat it. Don't ask. And if someone tell you about the food that sacrificed to idols, don't eat for the sake of the one who tell you. Not because you have freedom, but to help them to respect what they want you. You sacrifice your freedom for that, but a lot of time don't ask, don't tell, don't get involved. So you're not going to offend anyone, and you're going to glorify God in all situations. And that's the whole heart of the chapter. Sum up what Paul tried to teach us about many things: new life, freedom, and the Lord's Supper. The meaning of the Lord's Supper in this chapter, that the bread, the wine is the body of Christ. And don't do like a lot of people who get drunk in Paul time. They drink too much wine. And Paul said that you can drink at home, but not at church. And don't get drunk. And this is all the chapter 10. Okay, any more comment or question on chapter 10?
I have one question, Ajahn.
Yes, Nathan.
In those days, how often do they have a Lord's Supper?
Believe me, every time they meet.
So once a day, 2-3 times a week?
No, I say that every time they meet. If they meet 3 times a day, they have the Lord's Supper 3 times. So the Lord's Supper is part of their meeting, part of their worship. Maybe because it's still so fresh that Jesus just went to heaven, and for them, every meeting is about Jesus. So they celebrate the Lord's Supper every time they meet.
So Ajahn, in our days, we have Lord's Supper only once a month. What do you think? It seems like to me, I feel like it's just like being part of the culture instead of it's supposed to be more meaningful. I mean,
Yeah, I think so. So some churches now try to have it every week. And maybe we should try to do it every week. But all the evangelical don't have it every week. Just most evangelical just once a month.
to me, I think every week would be nice because it like we set our how you call that yeah. I think it'd be nice to me.
Yeah, it's a good idea if you can convince your leader and your church. I think it's a nice thing.
Our church did once a month, Ajahn.
Yeah, or evangelical once a month. You know that some of the Southern Baptists just 3 times a year.
We did it when we gathered together as a fellowship in having having a feast after the church service. And during before we finish the service, we do the Lord's Supper.
Mm.
And then after that, we fellowship and eat. Question, Ajahn.
Yes.
People ask that, to take the Lord's Supper, you have to be baptized first.
It depends. You see, the most super conservative one will demand that you baptize in the church only. If you baptize from other church, forget it.
Ajahn, the two disciples went in the way of the Emmaus. They talking and talking with Jesus, don't know what Jesus, and after they eat, have a fellowship with Jesus, and then they realize it. And then they believe, and then they went and baptized, right?
In Jesus' time, all disciples, when they accept new life, they baptize right away.
Oh. Yeah.
So it's somewhat instantly. So the Lord's Supper is part after they baptize. After they baptize, they have the Lord's Supper the first time.
Okay.
So most of the early church, you need to baptize first.
Thank you, John. I answered the question of someone asked.
Yeah, it's from the early church. You baptize first, and then the Lord's Supper follow.
Right.
So they have two steps. Well, it's good that all of you show up. And they say that we will start presenting all your project in week 10, maybe even earlier if you already have something to present.
Don't have anything yet, Jan.
Okay, start working on it. Where are you today, Carl?
I'm over here by the before the Baker Field on top of the mountain.
Oh,
I have a good service today, and I can hear everything. So
you go to Southern California today?
yeah, I'm start with in San Diego.
Wow. You coming back?
And coming back, yeah.
Oh, from San Diego.
Yeah, should be home tomorrow night.
Oh. Wow, quite an adventure.
A lot of driving. Like over the road.
Okay. Any prayer requests before we're done for tonight?
You have any?